Hey everyone, welcome back to Flywheel. This week we have Taiki Meta, who has a YouTube channel of the same name. And this week, this was our first YouTuber we had on, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his honest, refreshing perspective of both his journey into getting to crypto, the classic poker to crypto pipeline, how he went through being a Bitcoin maximalist first, and then how he first got his taste of DeFi with Badger, and then eventually, he kind of discover DeFi bit by bit. And what did you think of the whole interview, Kit? Like, what did you think of his journey?
Yeah, I think it was a very natural progression for the intellectually curious to start on the Bitcoin track. Then you start buying into the full decentralized maxi ethos, jumping over to ETH, being strong headed on ETH and principled, and then finally submitting to the narrative and pivot over to all the alternative L1s, which is kind of what he
Yeah,
did with Avalanche and Polygon. But I feel over time he refined his investment process and the way he evaluates and the metrics and KPIs that he pays attention to, you know, also makes him a very principled and refined investor over time. And he was very
yeah,
honest with the mistakes he made too, which I thought was like very refreshing to
very
hear.
honest. Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I definitely sympathize with him with both his L's because I've suffered very similar L's, and I also completely vibe with the decentralization thesis. Like at one point, I was like, "Oh, Bitcoin's the center of the universe. Bitcoin is gravity. It's the heaviest object. Everything will just go to Bitcoin." But over time, I refined that thesis to oh, like Ethereum is the heaviest object in the universe. It's going to be like the center of the universe. I was like decentralization all the way. But then I think like you said, intellectually curious, willing to admit that they're wrong and willing to adjust. And Taiki is one of those people, and you can tell that he takes a good look and a deep dive into the projects he looks into, and I was watching his Frax video and he went in on every little detail and came to his own conclusions, and I recommend everyone watch his video even before this to get a sense of what he was thinking.
Well, let's go ahead and dive right into the episode. But before you do, please make sure you smash that subscribe button on Flywheel Pod on YouTube.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at FlywheelPod and also on Telegram at FlywheelPod. And don't forget to follow me, your boy, DeFi Dave 22 on Twitter.
And you can find me at 0x capital underscore K on Twitter as well. Let's jump in.
And let's get this started. I'm your host, DeFi Dave. I'm here with capital K, and this week we have Taiki, pronounced like Nike. He is with a T.
Yes.
He is a host of his own YouTube channel, which has a considerable amount of subscribers. And we actually noticed last week he did a whole breakdown of Frax. He went into every detail. He went into FPI. He went into Frax Base Pool. He went into Frax ETH. He developed his own thesis about Frax. And we wanted to get him on and just learn more about his thesis and learn more about how he views DeFi and crypto in general. So Taiki, it is awesome to have you on. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
No, thank you. I mean, I think I listened to all your podcasts.
Yeah, no,
So
I
I'm
saw
like,
that.
yeah.
I saw that in the video. And then you see all the red bar to the end. I'm like, oh wow, people are really watching the flywheel. People, yeah. But no, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And yeah, let's get this started. So, I'm curious, how did you go from first discovering crypto and DeFi to being hey, I want to make my own videos and I want to get content out there.
Yeah. So I guess I learned about Bitcoin in like 2015 when
Hmm.
I was like a freshman in college, and I was like trying to deposit money on like a poker website because like online poker in the U.S. is not legal. And that's when I heard about.
The classic poker to crypto pipeline. You love to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it.
yeah. And then the BTC looked like a scam, so I just kind of ignored it. And then in 2020, with the lockdowns, the online poker scene was booming. So I decided to do poker full time.
Yeah. What
And
made BTC look like a scam back in 2015?
I mean, like if you just go to like the main website, like Bitcoin.com, or like whatever it was, like everything
Or
just
the
looked
Bitcoin
so.
forum? Or was it Bitcoin Talk? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like the website was just like so janky. Like it looked like it was like not updated for like the past 10 years. I wanted nothing to do with it. And then 2017 happened, and I like kind of observed it from the sidelines. Never really put money in it. And then 2020, like you said, like there's like a poker to crypto pipeline, right? Sorry, yeah, poker to crypto pipeline, and I was like in a bunch of poker discords, like studying and like I guess supporting each other through like the grind. And obviously everyone is like into crypto just because there's everyone's familiar with Bitcoin because you need Bitcoin to deposit onto poker websites. Um, so I think I bought my first ever Bitcoin in like May of 2020, and I was like just like trading it, like not really knowing like what it was about. And then I think around August, I actually built conviction in Bitcoin because the whole like money printing meme, right, in 2020. And then that's like when DeFi summer happened. I didn't really participate. I was just like watching Sushi launch and like Rug in like a couple days. And I just like thought it was too dangerous. But over time, or I guess like as Bitcoin started pumping, I was like, okay, like I need to spend more time on this. So I like slowly stopped playing poker, and I was like, putting more money into crypto.
When you were observing DeFi summer and everything that was going down from the food farms to sushi, what were your initial thoughts and reactions? Were you just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how is this even happening? Or like, were you like, oh, this is like some really interesting financial innovation. Like I should really pay attention
I
more.
mean, I never really thought of it as like financial innovation. I just thought of it as like a speculative vehicle. Um, but
Mhm.
obviously, there was like so much money pouring in. I just like had to spend more time on it. And then that's like when I started to make my channel. If you go back to like my first ever videos, I think I made a video on like, Bitcoin, like why you should buy Bitcoin or something like along those lines, like awful video. I made like some Michael Saylor
Mhm.
videos too. And then I think around January,
Oh, so you started as the Bitcoin
I was a
maxi.
maxi, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like a decentralization maxi, like BTC and ETH. And then
Hmm.
I think around January, February, I started like making random videos on like DeFi concepts. Like I made a video on Badger, like Sushi, and like KeeperDAO and stuff like that. Never really knew like what I was doing,
Hmm.
but I just like did well because the entire markets were like pumping in general. And then over time, yeah, and
So,
then
yeah.
Binance Smart Chain happened, the BSC season in early 2021. I totally faded it just because, like I said, like I was a decentralization maxi, and like that's when I knew that,
Well, that's
yeah,
where you went wrong.
that's when I knew that like I guess decentralization matters over the long term, but in the short term, people don't really care. They just like want to use the chain, like speculate, make money, have fun. Um,
Wait, let's reminisce on BSC season for a sec. Kid, did you participate in BSC season?
I was like,
Yo, kid.
Taiki, I was like, no, I am not touching it. I have principles. And in
yeah,
that moment, I chose, I remember what CMS wrote, do you want to be rich or do you want to be right? So I was principled and I steeled myself from
Dude, I
bridging.
just
What you did.
yeah. I think I was principled at first, but then I started to come around to it. I had this one moment where I was on a clubhouse with Bobby Ong
yeah,
from CoinGecko. He had me on with a few other people, and I was able to get the perspective of people on the other side of the world in Asia and like people in developing countries, and they were all about BSC. And it made me really think about like, wait a second, like Binance is the funnel for all these people to get on chain. Like whether it's in a centralized or decentralized way, like Binance was like their first step. And I think Sam actually put it best when he tweeted, Binance Smart Chain is basically the Binance SDK, but on chain. And I'm just like, oh, it's this like kind of middle ground. And like once I like thought about that, I was like, you know what, like this is probably a good step. It's like, DeFi boarding school in a sense. And like I started like messing around with a few things on BSC. To be honest, like I had terrible risk management back then. During BSC and dog season, I completely faded it, and I was still I caught and still am a DeFi romantic, and so it's just like my DeFi coins, like that's what's gonna. But I was completely wrong there. And it was like there was so much like you were so right, Taiki. Like so much money was pouring in, so much speculation was pouring in. It was really interesting seeing all the TikTok videos appear, and it was like TikTok tutorials on how to like get your money on Wallet Connect and then how to like invest in like dog coins and meme coins, and it was like I was like it was just really funny seeing like all these meme coins fly and all like the DeFi romantics like myself get like that were in it like early on like get just completely faded and just completely lost. And I think it made like a lot of people like take a look in the mirror. It's just like, okay, it's actually gonna be a multi-chain world. And we like what's gonna be next? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like for sure. Like I actually never bridged to BSC, but like when I missed, yeah, but
Oh, you
like
never
when I
bridged to
missed out
BSC?
on
Yeah.
BSC, I was like, I'm aping on like the next centralized chain, like,
The next thing.
and like that's when Polygon happened, and like yeah, like
Polygon, yeah.
Polygon really kickstarted my channel just because like everything on Polygon just like went up. There's like Goose Fork season, and like it was
Yeah.
like so blatantly a Ponzi, but you just like if you're in it day one, like you just like make money, and then yeah, like much simpler times. Yeah, much simpler times.
Yeah, Polygon was like the blessed ETH chain. I like to call it the real Ethereum test net.
Yeah.
Like it was like, okay, like this is like decentralized enough. You're cool. But do you remember stablecoin season on Polygon with Malt and
Yeah, for
Iron?
sure.
Did you participate in that? What, what's your thoughts
It
on that?
Molt, like, I mean, I knew that they're all gonna fail, but I put I think I put like $1,000 into Molt, and like I made like $500, and I'm like, all right, I'm out. And then I think I rugged, like, or not rugged, but it just like went to zero. And then Iron Finance, I don't know why I
Yeah,
faded it. I think Iron came out, or it came out in June, I think. And I think,
yeah. It came out
yeah,
like right
I
after
think
Malt.
part of the reason it did so well was because the markets were crashing and people just like wanted to hold stable coins and like, still be degenerates. So like the Iron Finance, their team was like, oh yeah, like, we're pumping in a bear market. But I was like, no, like, I feel like it's only pumping because we're in a bear market and people just like want to hold stables and like degen
Yeah.
that up. I faded Iron as well.
So
But
yeah.
I think I made a bunch of like bearish videos. Yeah. And
Yeah. I remember Iron because Iron, a lot of people don't realize this. It started on BSC. I remember farming that on BSC. And like it went through like similar issues as well. And it was
yeah,
actually a fork of Frax. It was a fork of V1 Frax. I'm just like, oh, this is like kind of cool. Like these people are like doing it on BSC. And then like, I don't know, it crashed on BSC and like whatnot. And then they went to Polygon and I think like a few big firms were farming it. And that's what got its like
yeah.
its big TVL. And then the kind of top moment for it was when Mark Cuban came along and wrote his Forbes guest post and he was like, I'm going pool 3. I'm farming that. I have that iron dye pool and I'm just raking in fees. And everybody's like, oh damn, he's thinking like 5 steps ahead, blah blah blah. And then boom, it goes from like 60 to 50. I'm just like, because I was farming it too. I'm like, all right, I'm out. Like, this is over. And then it just goes to 0. It was basically like Terra before Terra, like how fast it just like went down. But like it was only DeFi degens in it, so it didn't really make like that big news, except Mark Cuban going and crying and saying like, "Oh, we need regulation of
Yeah.
stablecoins," blah blah blah. But that was a
Alameda
fun
was in there
time.
too. I think Alameda
I
was
think
half the TVL. I think they had
Alameda.
like half a bill. Yeah.
No, they were. Yeah, Alameda was. Yeah, I like to call Alameda an industrial
No, they
farming
truly, yeah,
operation.
they
They're
really
like the
are.
Monsanto. They're like the Monsanto
I
of
think Alameda
crypto.
is like one of the best farmers in the space. Like, I mean, I guess
Yeah,
they
I have to
literally
keep no
just farm
because
and dump
yeah,
everything. So I
they
guess
have
like
exception.
it's hard for them to lose.
They, I say they have exceptional risk management. Like they just know how to play the game. Like, and also when you have like that much capital and like and like you get experience over time, and they're just like, okay, we see another farm, we're just gonna go in and out real quick, and like it's just what they do. That's why, like honestly, like I don't like personally, like I really don't farm aggressively anymore because I'm just like I stop because like there's no point. I'd rather like go and build and do my research and like do stuff like this podcast and talk to people like yourself than like go run out and farm. And I think like everybody has this kind of like journey in crypto where they like, oh, I need to like trade. Oh, I need to like make as much money as possible. But it's really like not about that. It's really just like finding your own lane, whether it's like being a shit poster or making memes or educating or like or like finding like a job in marketing. Like everybody like has their like place, and like most people aren't meant to be traders, and most people lose money trading. It's like better off just like finding like people like chill people to build cool stuff with, like Kit and Sam, and just like vibe out, whether it's like bull
Yeah.
or
I
bear.
feel like right now, when there's a lack of capital inflow in the space, like 95% of farms aren't really worth it. I think right now,
Mhm,
there's like random narratives popping up, right? There's like the L2 narrative, the Emerge
mhm.
narrative. But I'm not really sure how sustainable. I mean, obviously the Merge is going to be bullish, like mid to long term, but in the short term, I don't really know. I
Yeah,
feel like the majority of participants
I
are like
guess.
pretty educated on, like, you know, PvP markets and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess two things. Like one, like what do you think of optimism season happening right now? And two, like what do you think of like the Lido rocket pool eat staking narrative?
I'll talk about the second one first. I think Lido is interesting. The token distribution is like really bad. If you look at it on the
Hmm.
surface, I think the majority of the token goes to team and investors and whatnot. Um, but I listened to, well, I was like looking into it, and one of the benefits Lido has as they in the post merge world is that right now they kind of have to incentivize liquidity for staked ETH paired with the ETH. I mean, staked ETH is not a pegged asset, but they want it to be resemble the price of ETH, right? But after the merge, and once people can actually redeem their staked ETH, they no longer have to provide Lido emissions, just because it's going to be pegged regardless, because people can redeem staked ETH for ETH. So their emissions are going to lower after the merge, and also their revenue is denominated in ETH and other L1 assets. So if ETH does well, if other assets do well, like Matic, then their treasury grows over time. Obviously, like Lido, like they had to sell off their treasury because they weren't managing it properly. Like back in
The
yeah,
opposite
exactly,
of
yeah,
Frax.
exactly.
The
And that's one of the reasons I bought
yeah,
Frax. Yeah,
Frax
yeah.
buyback. Yeah,
So there's that, and
yeah.
then on the optimism side, I
Um,
think
w-
I'm
yeah,
I like Arbitrum more than Optimism right now. I think the only reason Optimism is doing well is because they have token incentives. And once Arbitrum has a token, whenever that is, um, I think more liquidity will flock into Arbitrum. Like everything is pumping so hard in the Optimism ecosystem, and I think it's easy to fade it and whatnot. But if you think about it like logically, like I think ETH TVL is like 66 billion. ETH DeFi TVL or maybe not, around 60 billion or something, right? And then Optimism is like 600 million, Arbitrum
yeah.
800 million. So
To to go back to the Lido Rocket Pool narrative, do you know what like the exact differences between Lido and Rocket Pool and like why Lido has so much of a market share? I actually had a friend, but Xerox Jim, shout out to Xerox Jim at Aave. He tweeted something like that along the lines of like Lido is like the convex of the eat of Ethereum because it's just like eating up ETH. Um, and I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. And I'm just like, you know what? Like this would be fun to market make on Uniswap B3. So I've
mm,
had a Lido ETH pair on Uniswap B3. Not too G-Gen. I didn't go like too tight of a range. I went like probably like 2.5x above, 2.5x below the price it was a week ago. And that thing printed the past week. Like it absolutely printed the past few days when everything was pumping, and there was like that mini pump, which was funny after the whole Federal Reserve Committee, Open Markets
mhm.
Committee, where they're like, everyone thought it would be 100 basis points, but it was 75 basis points, and the markets went berserk. It was just like funny. Everybody was just wait. It was like, oh, it's like all green and shit, and and there was just like a lot of hype around that day. I'm just like, oh, this is pretty cool. Uniswap V3 is a lot of fun. Taiki, what is your thoughts on Uniswap V3? Have you like market maked on there before? Have you supplied liquidity on there before? Um, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I think from a technological perspective, Uni V3 is like really like innovative, and you kind of see the trend where the main DEX is on other chains such as like Orca and Solana, Trader Joe and Avalanche. They're all going the concentrated liquidity route. I think these teams recognize that the Uni V2 model, like the XY equals K. I mean, it works, but that's not like the future of just AMMs in general. Um, I haven't, I've never been like an LP on Uni, just because I think I don't really have an edge there, so I don't really want to like
Mhm.
pretend like I know what I'm doing, especially
Yeah,
because crypto prices are so volatile. Um, what I do want to do is like in the future, I know you can like single site deposit assets, and they can act as like
Mm.
limit orders, like limit
Mhm.
sells or limit
Oh, the
buys.
range orders, yeah.
Yeah, so I might do that for certain assets if things look too frothy, or maybe I want to catch the knife or something. But aside from that, I don't really provide liquidity. And from like a tax perspective,
Mm.
it's kind of like difficult too. Like how do you report? Uh, it's just kind of difficult. So I'd rather keep it simple and spend more time doing research than spending like hours figuring out like what the correct price ranges is for Lido ETH or like ETH USDC, something like that.
Yeah. You got to pick your battles.
Got it. And
Yeah,
speaking
yeah.
of picking,
Yeah.
Taiki, like, how did you go about evaluating all of the different DeFi projects that you look at? Because I see that prior to the Frax video, you looked at GMX. Like, I want to see a bit into how you evaluate these projects.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
this journey from Bitcoin Maxi into like all out like DeFi.
Yeah. So let's see. I guess like one question, yeah, like, you have to ask yourself is like, what's the purpose of these projects existing? And I think in the bull market, like, we all get caught up in things that pump and like, it doesn't really matter, right? Like people will like ape into Ohm and stuff and like, they don't really care. And like Dome forks. But now, given everything is down 80-90%, I'm not really interested in like delta neutral farming or like stuff like that. I'm more interested in like capital appreciation plays. And I think there's a lot of edge to be had identifying long-term theses and narratives. I think in the short term, like I said, it's like super PvP, I think. So, trying to front run narratives is kind of difficult, even though it could be rewarding. So for the majority of people, I think it makes
Yeah.
more sense to find assets that could reach all-time highs in the near future, or like 6 to 12 months, 18 months.
Yeah.
So
It's-
Yeah, it's
like GMX, it's making money.
Mhm.
It's like a great model. The tokenomics are like it makes a lot of sense with GLP GMX staking and escrow GMX. I'm a fan of that. And then FXS. I mean, I made hour-long videos, but I feel like the only up-only market in crypto is the stablecoin market cap. And though,
Mhm.
Luna didn't work out, I feel like it always makes like, this is my perspective, but I think it always makes sense to hold assets like that's in the stablecoin sector, because I think the risk reward makes a lot of sense. I mean, like Frax, like $5, like of course it could go to zero, but if you weigh the probabilities and like the
Mhm.
expected value of just like buying FXS at 5, like it just like made a lot of sense. I also own some CVX, but I'm more convicted on FXS.
Yes.
I think it makes more sense to bet on Frax as an entity utilizing the stablecoin wars or the curve wars to grow their own stablecoin rather than,
Mhm.
CVX or something. But I still purchase some CVX because I do want to hedge in the case that, I am wrong and, CVX just ends up being the kingmaker. And they call it the kingmaker asset. So,
Yeah, I hear you.
just
I mean,
focusing on
Mhm.
stuff like that.
You mentioned like GMX actually making money and Frax actually being self-sustaining. Like, what are the KPIs or metrics you look at? Because it sounds like you are a very fundamentally driven like investor. Is there anything that you can kind of share with the audience to help them keep, have a KPI or a metric to kind of measure these projects against?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the project, right? I mean, for GMX, it's what are the volumes, like what's the TVL? Because if liquidity leaves GMX, then the token will go down because there's not much liquidity for people to trade. And I'm a fan because it actually scales. Like you would think that with more liquidity, because with yield farms, right? Like the more liquidity enters a project, the yield goes down, because they can only offer like a fixed amount of yield. But with GMX, with more liquidity, it can actually facilitate more trades. So, just tracking volume and fees. With FXS, it's really simple. All you have to do is track the market cap of Frax. That's probably like the single most important KPI. Of course, with Frax DP, I mean, Frax DP is like the reason why I expect Frax to grow in market cap. But who knows? Like, if Frax isn't growing, then that thesis is invalidated and like might be worth selling or something. But with things I'm buying right now, I have like a pretty long term time horizon. Maybe like, I mean, long term in crypto is like subjective, but a couple months at least. Because I believe that like, or for me, like I don't think I have an edge in trading. I think I'm okay, but like I'm not like the best. So I'd rather find assets I believe in and just like buy and hold with full conviction, like diamond hands, whatever. Because if you think about the most successful people in crypto, it's like people that built conviction and like held the volatility, right? Like, of course, the best traders like are giga rich and whatever, but I feel like it's much easier as a market participant to like just build theses and just watch it play out. That way,
Another
yeah.
thing that another thing that you said in your Frax breakdown was in bear markets, that's when you build moats. And
Yeah.
Frax was in this bear market that Frax was building a moat, like both with like Frax BP, with the other primitives they're building. And you even cited this podcast as kind of like a satellite in
Oh yeah, I
Frax
said
building
that.
a culture moat. And yeah, a culture moat. Like the fact that this podcast started is, is bullish and optimistic for Frax. And so can you go into that statement more? And like, have you like, is Frax like the only one you've seen like developing this kind of moat? Are there other projects you see developing moats? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about, people like to use the the .com bubble like analogy where like everything went down a lot, but Amazon just like kept building and scaling and built moats, and like that's why they're giants today, right? So when there's less speculators, when there's less money to be made, the people that are building, if you can't really create moats, then your product probably doesn't have product market fit, like most likely. So
Yeah.
I feel like you have to keep tracking. Like I can hear someone type, but I feel like you have to build modes, and I feel like one way you can build modes is by being infrastructure. For example, like
Mhm.
Chainlink did really well in 2019, 2018, 2019, and parts of 2020. And now, I feel like it's really difficult to bootstrap like a new Oracle project just because Chainlink is the number one, right? Like if you're building a new money market, then like I'd rather like if you're not using Chainlink, then I feel less inclined to deploy. Not because the Oracle isn't like other Oracles aren't great, but I just feel more comfortable with Chainlink. So similarly,
How do you feel Uniswap being how do you feel about Uniswap being an Oracle token? I mean, Vitalik had that
yeah, I remember that.
proposal last year in the Uniswap forum, and like Euler uses Uniswap v3 oracles for their lending market. So do you think there's room for competition for Chainlink?
I feel like Chainlink is already a monopoly, and I think that's fine. I think other projects use UniV3 oracles because it's cheaper to use UniV3 oracles. But ultimately, I don't really care about buying projects or buying tokens of projects with like 50 million TVL. I'd rather identify things that can get to multi-billion TVL, and all the multi-billion TVL projects will use Chainlink. And with
Yeah.
UniV3, I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but there is, I'm not like too familiar with like how they work and whatnot, but I feel like they could get exploited in some way. I think some projects use like
Yeah.
Sushi or Uni oracles in the past with money markets, and they like got exploited. So
Yeah.
I just like trust Chainlink
One
more.
of my favorites, yeah. One of my favorite products from Chainlink is actually their proof of reserves. When you can, for like things like BitGo, you can see like the amount of like Bitcoin they hold for WBTC. And I think that's really cool and really important. So like, I know like they're more than just like oracles. They're doing all kinds of stuff too.
Yeah, especially with staking coming soon. I know they have V0.1,
Ooh.
which is like, which doesn't like pay anything, but if you think about 2033 and beyond, I feel like because one thing Chainlink doesn't have is like value accrual. But once staking is
It's
enabled,
a little important.
yeah, but once staking is enabled, I feel like there could be more value accrual. So Yeah.
I think that's an issue with all infrastructure tokens, not just Chainlink. There's also where I used to work, Gelato as well. They focus more on automation. Well, Chainlink has automation as well, but Gelato was the first ones to do it, and like they're gonna have to figure out value accrual in the future. And their proposed model is also staking. And if you want to be in like a validator or like operator of a bot, you can stake Gelato tokens. And I wonder if Chainlink, if you want to be like if you want to be an Oracle provider, you have to stake your Chainlink tokens.
I think there's that too. But
I'm actually
also,
not sure.
yeah, I'm not too familiar with the incentives for being like a validator or staking Chainlink. I'm sure that like if you're just like a link whale, like a link marine, you can just stake it, earn fees. But I also think that if you're like an institution that needs accurate data,
Yeah.
they'll be incentivized to buy a bunch of links, stake it, so they can verify the
Yeah.
data,
If,
oracles and whatnot.
if, if there's one thing for sure, it's that Link is an institution in the space.
Yeah, or that's what people say.
Are you a Fraxalist? Do you want to show off your Frax pride? Well then, do we have a treat for you? Introducing the Frax sweatpants from Grift Shop. Shout out to Grift. Show off your Frax pride with these comfy pair of slacks. We got the Fracture logo, the FPIS logo, the Frax logo, and the FPI logo. All there for you. Head over to the Grift Shop now and purchase your pair of Frax sweatpants. Link in the description below.
I had a question regarding the fee switch kind of like debate across all the infrastructure products, right? Like you have, when will Uniswap turn on their fee switch? When will Lido turn on the fee switch? And do you think like these infrastructure products should ever turn on a fee switch, or should they remain almost like a pseudo public good type of thing?
Well, from like a market participant perspective, we kind of want them to have like value core, right? Just so like we can buy it and number go up. But if you evaluate Uniswap as like a startup, then like if you invest in like a random startup, then like in the real world, you don't want them to pay dividends, right? Like you'll say, no, like screw that, like please reinvest into your business. So I think from like a token holder's perspective, you want there to be value accrual, but from like a longer term perspective, you kind of just want them to keep reinvesting. And like Uniswap like acquired Genie, right? The NFT aggregator. So you kind of want them to do stuff like that, then like turn on fee switch. I think Uniswap, they have a proposal, right, to enable fee switch, like 10 basis points or something.
Yeah, that's being debated right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For ETHUSDC and like some stablecoin pools. So they're like testing it, right? And there's like some interesting discussions on Twitter about like if they do enable like fee switch, then maybe LPs are like going to be less incentivized. Especially because like UniV3, it's really annoying to map out ranges. I mean, it's possible, right? But it's not really retail friendly. So maybe that can, and if the fee switch is enabled and the fee, like part of the like maybe like 5 basis points of fees goes to like stakers instead of LPs, then maybe more liquidity will leave the system and look for other exchanges, whether that's Curve or I don't know, like Sushi or whatever, or Balancer or whatever it ends up being. I mean, the thing is, like, no one knows. I feel like Uni will be a really good token to buy and hold with like a 5-year time horizon or something. I do expect it to get to all-time highs, but I think there's a lot of opportunity cost in just the Uni governance token right now.
Yeah, it's in most of their treasury in the Uni token.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's like multi-billion treasury, mostly in Uni.
So mostly, that's insane. Yeah.
I think at peak it was like
they
maybe 3 or 4 billion, and then it went all the way down to like 1.
Yeah.
It's
There's this really cool website I found called DeepDAO.
Oh yeah.
It's like the Coin Market Cap or CoinGecko of DAOs, and it goes into like how many active participants, who the most active people are, treasury size. I'm like, wow, this website's super in depth. So if like anybody ever wants to do some DeepDAO research, DeepDAO is where it's at.
Yeah.
Personally for Uniswap V3, like I definitely am a romantic over that as well. Just because I've studied it so much, and I think it's easy. People need to be like, not financial advice, obviously, but like people need to, if they decide they want to LP on Uniswap V3, it's all about being conservative and being patient. Like people always get too tight of ranges, and then boom, they have like impermanent loss to the max. But like, here's a simple rule of thumb I like to do. If you just want to be conservative, just like find like either like ETH like USDC, or like find like 1% like volatile asset that like happens to have a lot of volume at the moment. Like right now it's like Lido, and just do like some conservative range, like 4x above, 4x below, like the current like base pair price. So like 4x above, 4x below, like the ETH price, maybe 3x above, 3x below. I find doing like that rule of thumb, like you'll like accrue freeze, and you'll stay. The most important thing is like you just stay in range, and like if you're in it long enough and you're patient with it, then you start seeing returns. So if like for rule of thumb, like 3x above, 3x below,
Hmm.
and it's just like all about your risk tolerance as well.
Because the
Yeah,
reason why
I just like.
Mhm. Go ahead, Haki.
Oh, sorry. Go for it. Go for it.
I just wanted to emphasize on the Uniswap thing because they currently account for like 70% of kind of all the DEX volume. And I'm looking at Ultrasound Money right now, and for the last 360 days, the top 4 are OpenSea, Uniswap, Tether, and Uniswap V3. So then over time, like Uniswap is one of the most active contract on chain for any purpose, right? And second, and then only losing to OpenSea being NFTs. And if Uniswap, acquired, Genie and continued marching down this path of allowing you to trade everything, like I feel like they're going to be a really strong public good candidate. And maybe how Frax has Frax ETH. Do you think it'll ever be possible to have a Uni ETH where people just stake ETH onto Uni, and because they're burning a lot of ETH, they might as well kind of capture some of that back.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think Uni is trying to be like this one-stop shop for all asset trading. So ERC20s and also NFTs. Yeah, I'm really
they
excited about
integrate
like
SudoSwap as well.
yeah, they integrate SudoSwap. I also like SudoSwap. It's like I feel like the trend. I feel like one thing you have to do in DeFi is like identify trends, and one of the trends I've observed is that Uniswap kind of leads the AMM design innovation, and then everything else follows. But even though Uniswap doesn't have LP mining, liquidity mining, they still have most of the TVL. And then UDV3 comes out, and then everyone is forced to follow. And I think with SudoSwap,
Yeah.
I think concentrated liquidity for NFTs makes a lot of sense. You create instant liquidity for every NFT, so you fix like the liquidity problem. And it's also going to enable NFT to NFT swaps, and also NFT borrowing or borrowing against NFTs, because there could be like an easier way to liquidate your NFT if it's always paired against ETH. But then the token is very speculative, so I have no idea what it's going to do. But yeah, I feel like Uniswap is like the one-stop shop for like asset swaps. It makes a lot of sense. And if they ever turn on staking, or if they ever become their own chain and you can like stake Uni to earn fees or something, then it's gonna be like probably a top 10 asset.
Unichain.
It's probably gonna be like a top 10 coin, or top 20 at least.
You actually talked about Frax Chain in your video. I speculated about it. You saw a Sam screenshot. So like, what have you thought about Frax Chain more? I have a few thoughts on Frax Chain as well.
I mean, I don't know anything about it. I don't think about it because it's not like a good use of my time. Like I don't really get anything out of
I like that.
speculating on. Like I'm not going to spend like an hour of my time thinking about the future of Frax Chain, because I have no idea. I'd rather just like buy FXS and let Sam deal with it.
In Sam we trust.
In Sam trust.
Yeah.
Wait, do you know anything
Yeah.
about Frax Chain? What's the point of Frax Chain? I don't get it. Like,
if I had to like speculate on Frax Chain, I think, Frax is, with all these different primitives, whether it's like Fraxlend, FraxSwap, FPI, like Frax is building its own decentralized financial ecosystem in a sense, all powered by Frax and with the FXS token. And for the best way for both the FX token to accrue value and also like to make the whole system as efficient as possible is I think Frax will like become a rollup one day. And I could see it becoming, I think it would make this most sense for it to become a hybrid rollup. And so like it will like it will do like executions, and then like from time to time it will push like security to like the main chain. And so it's like this like really cool like mixed system where it's like, it can still, it's still efficient enough, and but like every once in a while it like pushes security to the main chain. And like a lot of I definitely see it setting towards like a ZK, whether it's like ZK EVM or like Cairo, who knows? Like it's interesting seeing this whole race, like the ZK EVM race, like who's gonna come out with ZK EVM first, and like, oh, will Cairo pull ahead? Like, oh, like will like Optimism or Arbitrum like switch to zero knowledge proofs? Who knows? But like you see like things converging in the space, whether like converging towards ZK rollups or converging towards like this all-encompassing financial system, and everybody wants to like make their own chain. Like I think like definitely not a priority now, and I think there's like a lot of testing needing to be done, and nor do I think like Frax should like focus on Frax chain now. But if I had to imagine a Frax chain, it would be like a ZK rollup with like a hybrid system or something like that.
I see. I
Hmm.
see.
I
Yeah.
think Sam said it best in the previous podcast that we did with him and Robert. It was like,
It was a
yeah,
decentralized
he was basically
Binance.
saying how,
Yeah.
like Terra kind of did it backwards, right? They went way too ham having a chain right away. Then they crank up the speed and have so much stablecoin liability, and they just did it too quickly, and they did it backwards. Whereas Sam is taking approach with Frax of like slow and steady of fleshing out, first the stablecoin, then the AMOs to support the stablecoin, then the lending on the lending elements, and then the swaps, and then slowly starts building, integrating into the curve and the centralized exchange and decentralized exchanges. So building out this almost layer of finance on top of Ethereum. And Frax has always been kind of ahead of all the other DeFi protocols, right? You look at Aave, now they're coming out with their stable coin, and Curve is coming out with their stable coin. And, is Aave going to have a DEX somewhere? Integrate somehow?
I think they do
You
have
know?
swaps.
Yeah, they already have
swaps
swaps.
Oh, they
integrated
do?
in
Okay,
Aave
so,
already.
like,
Yeah. Everyone's
right. So
converging on
then,
the same thing. Even CZ said, yeah, in 5 years they want Binance to have more action like on BNB chain than on their centralized like
right.
platform. So like everyone's converging on like but it's a matter of like, what do you prefer? Who's going to get there first? What's going to be the easiest for the end user? And like, what's going to be the most sovereign and
Right,
permissionless?
right. And at the end of the day, like, where is the battlefield? Is it in terms of liquidity? Like, who has the deepest liquidity is going to win, or is it who has the best UI UX is going to win? I'm trying to figure that out for myself across all the
That's a
different
really good
protocols.
question.
So, or
I mean, it's a
maybe just
combination of both, right? They're
aggregators,
not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
mhm.
I think liquidity is the foundation. Like if you don't have liquidity, like for stablecoins to maintain peg or for volatile assets to like make reasonable trades, then you don't really have anything. That's the basis. And then like on top of that, if you don't have a good UI, then no one's going to use your product. Like the reason Uniswap still has like more activity than aggregators. It's because their UI is just so simple and it's phenomenal. Like anybody can like go ahead and make it. It's very like easy to use, and the fact that they remember, like no one thought like DEXs would be a thing 2 years ago or like 3 years ago. They're like, oh, that's like 5-10 years away, and Uniswap completely flipped that narrative and made like, oh, DEXs are the thing. Like DEXs are like the center, AMMs are like the center of DeFi, and it really like kicked off DeFi summer and like all the on-chain activity we see today, whether it's NFTs or on other chains.
Yeah, I think whoever controls liquidity is gonna be the leader.
Liquidity bequeaths more liquidity.
Yes.
Taki, did you
Were you gonna
ever
ask
play
something?
with any
Yeah, so-
NFT? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was asking if you're gonna ask something, but it sounds like you're
Yeah, I
asking
would.
something.
I was gonna ask, did you ever play around with all the NFTs flipping and things like that?
No, like I mean, I'm like super bullish on NFTs long term, but I don't think I have an edge like picking out which PFP to like pick. I think the only thing I understood was like Moonbirds, even though I didn't like mint or like didn't I never purchased Moonbirds, but I think that
Uh,
makes sense.
I didn't understand
Yeah, can
Moonbirds.
you explain?
I don't. What clicked for Moonbirds?
But
Yeah,
it's just like the way I think about it is because everyone thinks about NFTs as like a PFP collection, right? It's just like a flex, like a way to flex on people, or like your flex your wealth or something, or like a status symbol. But with Moonbirds, I just thought of it as like Kevin Rose, who's like this Web2 guy, creating a Web3 startup under this Moonbirds slash Proof Collective brand. So it's just like a way, like buying this NFT was a way to bet on Kevin Rose executing, building on Web3. So I'm not really evaluating the art or anything. I'm just like, yep, like you just bet on
Mhm.
Kevin Rose
you're
to ship.
betting on the person.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's a startup. Like he has like 20 people working under him for Moonbirds and slash Proof. And he's gonna. I mean, he's already rich, right? He's gonna keep shipping, right? So you're just like betting on his success. So, but anyways, like at the current valuation, I don't really know if I want to buy Moonbirds. So I always wanted to like bet on like NFT infrastructure, but I was like never a fan of like LooksRare or like X2 Y2, and like OpenSea. You can't like regular people can't
yeah,
really
yeah.
gain equity on it. So
Yeah, I view NFTs like I think you like said it like it's a meme shelling point. Like you're betting on both like either like the person or team behind it, or you're betting or like you like vibe with the community, and it's just like really a shelling point for people to like come together because they have this belief or commonality in something, whether it's like the value of like the community or like they believe in the founder or whatever else. And also like I think something more in the future, you're going to see more utility NFTs and practical NFTs. And one example of that is ENS volume is going through the roof recently. Like everyone's picking up ENS names, and there's this whole narrative around, social block, blockchain using it for social purposes and more, outside of finance. And Vitalik CCC talk, not this year, but last year, was all about like non-financial use cases, and social was a big part of that. And now you see Lens coming on, and you see another like little bit of alpha for you guys is a lot of gelato automations is actually like coming from game. If you look on like I think their Dune dashboard, it's coming from gaming, and it's actually going to it's coming from social more and more. If you just like follow gelato automation, like you get to see like where the activity is going on chain. And so like I see like social logins like becoming like social becoming like a much bigger part in the future. And especially with like something else from this ECC that I just went to was Gitcoin and also Discord. They're coming out with their own like the Gitcoin passport, the Disco's data backpacks, and people can like carry their identity, like on-chain identity with them, and that identity could be used as like either like collateral possibly for lending. It could be used for like an on-chain census to say like, oh, are you like, do you qualify for like this airdrop, or are you this member of the community? So like I'm bullish on like NFTs in the future, and like I think like it's gonna first you're seeing it happen slowly, and then it's just gonna be like all at once. It's like, oh, now it makes sense.
yeah,
But the pieces are getting there.
yeah, and NFTs took me by surprise. But I get it. I mean, I don't really get it, but I get it. Like you know what I'm talking about. Like I don't
Yeah.
get why. Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
I feel that. So
I just wanted
Oh,
to ask,
go
like,
ahead,
what
Kit.
do you think is going to be that next sector or niche that's going to come out of crypto, right? First it was DeFi, then it was NFTs, and now 2023 would be, what do you think?
Maybe games, but I think it's this is very difficult to create a game.
Extremely.
I mean, DeFi Kingdoms was like super hot, and then it went down, and like Harmony also got wrecked.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I feel like introducing NFTs and token incentives for or tokenomic structures for NFTs or sorry, gaming makes a lot of sense. I just feel like it's very difficult to like actually execute. Um, is it more reasonable to expect
Yeah.
like GTA to launch a token or like like an existing game to launch a token or slash NFTs, or is it reasonable to expect like a crypto native project to start from zero and like build something up? I don't know. But I'm gonna continue to like look for gaming plays. Because like I feel like the risk reward is like pretty asymmetric. Um, I feel like stablecoin. I mean, I think stablecoins will also just be like an up only sector,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if Frax is the answer, but I'll continue to bet on stablecoin infra, whatever. But also like I think NFTs has a reasonable chance to like lead us out of the bear market too. It's like understanding DeFi. And like I made this hour-long video on Frax, right? I mean, like most people aren't going to watch that. And understanding Frax requires like many hours of like understanding curve and like all that stuff and convex. Like, but with NFTs, I feel like it's simpler to understand. As in like, oh yeah, it's artwork. It's like, you can be part of this community or whatever. So I feel like potentially NFT volume could pick up.
Great.
It'll lead more speculation into the markets, and then that'll lead ETH activity to rise, increase the amount of burn, increase gas fees across the board, and then Alt L1/L2s can also ramp up because of ETH gas fees being high, and maybe that's how the bear market, maybe that's how like we come out of the bear, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, bringing this back to Frax, what is your favorite Frax primitive that they have out or that they're building? And is there like one, or even like, not just primitive, but like partnership, like with like Frax BP? Is there like one that you think will be the catalyst for Frax?
Well, I've known about Frax since launch, but I just like never bought into it. I think when they first started getting into CVX, like that made a lot of sense to me. And then with Frax BP, like that's when I bit the bullet. And okay, like a bet on Frax is like a bet on
Bit the
Curve.
bullet. You jumped in the base pool.
Yeah. The base pool, yeah. That convinced me. I think I'm most excited for the Frax base pool, Frax BP. In terms of KPIs, like that's my bull case. So like I have to, that's what I track. If it doesn't gain any traction, then unfortunately I might have to sell. But like I'm willing to give it time and whatnot. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting if the Aave
I
stablecoin
concur.
Go gets paired with Frax BP. That would validate the thesis. But maybe maybe because they're so big, like Curve will just give them free incentives. I'm not really sure how it'll go. And I know Balancer did a token swap with Aave, so maybe Balancer is going to give them favorable, like I don't know, like incentives or something.
Mhm.
I don't know, but yeah, Frax BP definitely the most interesting thing. Fraxland is interesting too, but I kind of need to see it in action in order for me to like be
Mhm.
excited about it. Even though it makes sense, like, being a stablecoin issuer, like it makes sense for you to lend out your assets to generate more fees and stuff.
Frax creating Fraxland, Aave creating a stable coin. It's all converging.
Yeah. It's just a bit on Curve, I think.
Yeah. Do you,
Or maybe I'm wrong with
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
Hey,
I
Kit,
think
what do you think?
my bear case against Frax BP is with Curve USD coming out. And why wouldn't Curve want that to be the base pair for everything else instead of using, Frax base pair? And that's going to be my one bear case against Frax BP. What do you think, Taiki?
Well,
Yeah,
the thing is,
that's an yeah.
I feel like Frax, Convex, and Curve are just like becoming this one entity.
Yep.
Over time. I mean, Frax fell away with Stipper Curve. They're going to lock up their CRV. They're going to stop farming and dumping. I mean, they're going to continue to accumulate more CVX over time. And I don't know if you saw like the white paper that I mean, it's not really a white paper, but like the screenshot,
Yeah.
like the Llama
Mhm.
stablecoin. Yeah, it's probably going to be like loan liquidation, AMM. I don't know what it's going to be, but I don't necessarily think they're going to compete with one another. And like I said, stablecoins literally up only market. So if like more decentralized stables increase in market cap, then that's only good for stablecoin yields in general, which should be good for I mean, if Curve USD works,
Uh,
then that's more
I,
value
yeah,
accrual for Curve. And if there's more value accrual for Curve, then that creates more demand, or sorry, creates more value for Convex, because Convex determines where Curve emissions go. So as the biggest holder of CBX, Frax should benefit from Curve USD doing well. And I think,
I think stablecoins are. It's like, oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was gonna say, no, go ahead.
okay, I'm sorry, but um, yeah, I feel like I think Frax like peaked at like $3 billion market cap, right? Like at the Pico top, and
It was like 2.8, 2.9.
yeah. So I feel like like I mean, of course, like Sam wants to go to the trillion or something, but I don't know. Like I don't know what the likelihood of that is.
I wanted to go to a trillion.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we're all going to be like, we'll all own an island or something if that happens. But like,
A Frax Island.
yeah, but
And there'll be a free gym membership for everybody that comes there.
yeah,
There'll be,
yeah. But no, I think it's reasonable for Fraps to like slowly grow over time, like maybe 10 billion, 20 billion, very slowly. And like we just want to like, I guess from a Frax enjoyer perspective, we just like
enjoyer.
Yeah, we look forward to, Frax growing in market cap. I think in the past couple of weeks it grew about like 10 million or something. I forget. Like Frax market cap is like trending up recently, not by too much, but it's like, oh yes, it's happening. So we'll see if that trend continues.
I think the most important point you made is stablecoins are a P2E environment, not a P2P environment. And I agree with you. I think the more stablecoins, the better. And I think, with Aave coming out with Go, Curve coming out with their stablecoin, it's just a way for them to optimize the capital that they already have that's being, in a sense, unused. And like now, like with like over-collateralized Curve or like whatever they're building, you'll be able to like utilize liquidity in Curve to create a stablecoin. And that's how I speculate about it. And like with that, you can like create more liquidity with Frax BP. And then it's just like you said, like it's up only for stablecoins from there.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Fingers
We
crossed.
want them as stablecoin yields.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you guys subscribe
yeah.
to the power law with stablecoins? Meaning one is going to pretty much rule them all, or are we going to have kind of a basket of stablecoins?
I mean, I think like how I view it is there's stablecoins at like different levels. Like there's, Tether's the centralized stablecoin. USDC is like this bridge on chain stablecoins. It's a stablecoin for ETH. But like for like other chains like rollups and stuff, that's like yet to be decided. Like I think Frax could like definitely like go in and be like the stablecoin for like rollups and certain L1s. Like I know at Harmony, Frax was like the go-to stablecoin. Like a lot of projects like chose Frax, or like Ohmforce, they chose Frax. So I think the stablecoin market's like, so it's still like small. Like there's only like, I don't know, like 100 million market cap. I haven't checked. And there's just like a lot of room to grow. And like Frax is positioning itself as like we're the fully on-chain transparent stablecoin. We're DeFi stablecoin. Like we're here. We like share the same crypto ethos as like this like lineage from like Satoshi to Vitalik to Sam, in a sense. And so like I think there's like definitely like room to grow for Frax. And I think it'll probably be like 2 to 3 winners, and each will have its like own purpose. But I think like Frax is like right now positioning itself. It's not like set in stone yet, but like it's like doing everything it can to position itself to be like the like on-chain stablecoin, especially for like these rollups and other chains.
Yeah, it's like I agree. I think people say that like Ethereum is going to be the only chain or something, but I think the future is like multi-chain. Right now with low gas fees, there's like less incentive to use alt ones, but at some point, the bull will resume and then gas fees will spike. And of course, Optimism and Arbitrum is gaining traction, but I'm not really sure if the tech is ready yet. Maybe it will be over time, but I think a lot of demand for block space will flow into other L1s. And similarly, I think there's going to be I don't think it's going to be a winner takes all. I think like you said, every different stable coins will have different use cases, and maybe Frax will be a DeFi native stablecoin where DeFi native projects will partner with Frax. Maybe because they own a bunch of CBFs. Maybe that's why. But I don't really see projects partnering with like Circle or Bitfinex for Tether, right, or USDC. So if we do envision like this decentralized future, then I feel like Frax will be part of it. Though it's going to be really hard to surpass Tether or USDC. Yeah.
Kit, what do you think?
So my bullish case for Frax was it being the de facto pair that you want to put your USDC against, and then you throw it into the Curve pool. And then the Frax BPLP token becomes the super stable that every chain kind of uses. Because Frax has done a great job getting Frax across all the chain, right? Every single chain has like canonical FRAX stable. Well, the bridging process is kind of complicated, but every chain kind of has their own canonical Frax, which I think is really, really cool. USDC doesn't really do that. Like they take a little bit longer to move. I think only recently that they have a USDC like officially onto Avalanche, I think. But it takes a while for the central institution to partner up with all these DeFi or decentralized infrastructure. So for me, like Frax BP is going to be the super stable that every USDC is going to go into. Because why would you hold USDC when you could hold Frax BP and earn some yield? And with Frax is able to prove out at the multi-billion-dollar level that it would not depeg, I got that is the bull case. And I think it is a winner takes all. And I think Frax is going to take it all.
Always bullish.
I mean, bullish. Yeah, like honestly, like that the whole you guys are right. Like the whole like Curve Convex Frax trilateral alliance is really it's Frax's stronghold, and they all rely on each other and they all like give each other value. Like I'm not sure where Curve would be if or Convex would be if Frax wasn't doing all those vote incentives early on. They were the ones to recognize that first. And like, I'm not sure like where Frax would be if like they wouldn't have been able to access that Curve deep liquidity. And they all like play into each other. And I think it's a good thing that they're all getting closer with each other with, Frax base pool, and then like Convex owning FXS, and then like the Frax protocol owning Convex. It's kind of like that whole Spider-Man meme, like everyone's pointing at each other. But, and I think all like the teams are like pretty capable and like, they know what they're doing and they're all thinking long-term. So I'm just like, bullish all three protocols really, and that's their stronghold. And like from there, like from Frax base pool, they can like go and expand from there. I'm personally super excited for Frax ETH. I think like that's going to be the next wave, and like I think I said this before in the last podcast. I think everyone's making a stablecoin, everyone's making a VE system soon. Everyone's going to have their own like Lido copy. Like once that becomes obvious, like 10% yields, like what are we doing? But we'll see if that plays out.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog was going crazy.
Yeah.
Like, is that a rifle on your wall?
So another thing I want to, yeah.
Oh no, that's it. No, that's a.
Oh,
It's a
What do we
bird.
got?
I thought it looked like
It's not a rifle.
Are you sweeping floors in that room? Are you sweeping some floors?
No, actually, hold on.
Oh, it's good. It looked
Kid,
like.
where'd you get rifle from?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
he
he's in
actually
a
does have a rifle. Oh my goodness. I mean, he does live in San Francisco, so I understand.
I mean, yeah. I
Oh.
mean, in like,
You have to rake.
what do we got?
You better rake. Yeah.
Yeah.
No rifles in this
Just a
household.
rake.
Just farm equipment.
Farming. That's where he's out toiling in the field,
honest
trying to
farmer.
get some
Yeah.
yield.
You know it's a bull market when I whip this
Yeah.
out in the field. Like, I remember I whipped this out in a couple of my Matic videos, and there was like a total meme.
Oh,
But recently the yields have not been that bountiful, so I can't whip this out. But one day,
Yeah,
one
that
day
actually
soon,
leads into
bro.
my next question. Yeah, what's it like What's it like creating content on YouTube? Like, what's been your experience in the whole crypto YouTube sphere? Because I know it's a lot different than the Twitter sphere. So, like, what's it like in crypto YouTube land?
Um, it's how should I say this? I mean, it's definitely interesting. Like, I never expected my YouTube to like pop up. I think you asked this earlier, but like the reason I started my YouTube was because I don't have a financial background. I mean, I have a business degree, but I like focus on like marketing, branding, not like finance. So I started making videos because if I ever wanted to work for a crypto company, I can use my channel as like my resume. As in like, hey, like I have like 10 videos talk about DeFi. I kind of know what I'm talking about. And then I kind of got lucky with like the Polygon craze. But I think if you're creating content, you shouldn't have any expectations. It's like this, if you build it, they will come mentality of like, if you just continue to have good intentions, you know, be as ethical as you can, try to create a relationship with your audience. Now, at some point, you know, one of your videos will do well. And no, I guess you can build a following. I think I think with crypto, like when I first joined the space, there was like so many like grifters, right? Of like, just like people like pumping and dumping, and, like doing paid shills. So I feel like just trying to be a good person is like enough for people to like you, because there's a pretty low bar, I think, when it comes to being a crypto influencer. So, you know, obviously like sometimes I get things wrong. Sometimes I get wrecked. Sometimes I get rugged.
Yes.
As we all
Yeah,
do.
but I feel like,
It's a rite of
yeah.
passage.
But, you know, I said this before, but like you can question like my decision making and like how I think about things, but like I don't want people to ever question like my integrity. And like that's kind of the philosophy I have for my channel. And I think like during the bull market, I think like everyone gets caught up in like just things that pump and whatnot. So the reason I've been posting less videos recently is because I kind of want to focus more on like education and like evergreen content. So like long Frax video, long GMX video. I think those types of content will be relevant next week, next month, probably even next year. So focusing on, I feel like you have to change with the times. I might start doing more live streams, just like, you know, create more casual content. Yeah, it's just, I'm just like experimenting with various ideas, and just trying to listen to what people want.
It's like constant A/B testing. Like, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you do right is like you said, like you care about what you're putting out. You care that it's high quality. Like the whole Frax video is like very well done. It's very detailed and you did your homework. You found a video of like something I posted in like 2018, 2019 of like
Wait, you
Sam
posted that?
speaking to a UCLA class. That was me. Yeah. I
Oh, what
actually
the
filmed
heck?
that. Yeah.
Oh, you're literally a Sam
Yeah.
Maxi.
I mean, well, I mean, I've been like, it's funny, like, my like old gelato like coworkers would joke that I was at the school of Sam. But like I worked with him at Everpedia, so like that's
Gotcha.
why
I didn't know
like
that.
I was like there. Yeah, so like I call myself Day Zero Frax. Um, but back to you. Like, no, you like really do like put in the effort with your podcast, and like you definitely, and like I like how you have these like standards and you have a bar. It's just like, okay, like I'm looking at the fundamentals. Like this is like the key parameter I'm looking at. It's Frax Base Pool. If it doesn't meet that, then like I'm going to sell. If it does meet that, then like it proves my thesis right. And like I think like one thing we have to keep doing is like questioning ourselves and questioning our theses, and like what if it does go to zero tomorrow? Like what are the risks? And like I think like, you know, it's very easy to be romantic. I think we all fall for it, but like, you know, the fact that you're like aware of like, okay, it's like not, I know I'm infallible. Like I know I make mistakes, and like we all do. But you know, being open to being wrong, I think like that's really important in the space, because like a lot of grifters are just like, oh, I'm always right, like, oh, trust me, this and that. But like at the end of the day, like I think like the people you trust most are the people that like realize like they don't know it all. They just know, you know, and like honestly, to make it in the space, you don't have to know everything. You just
Yeah.
have to know some things. and it's okay to
Yeah,
be
I
wrong.
mean, as soon as it blew, 3 hours blew up, right? So like, no one really knows what they're doing.
Dude, 3 hours, honestly, like 3 hours, that was so trippy because like everyone like looked up to them so much. They're like our guys, and then like, boom, they just they were just like, wait, they're just like they're wrong too. They're just like me, but like they just were degenning to the freaking max. Like, I mean, like it's insane how much money they borrowed. It's insane like how much social trust and social capital they built out, where they could just like be taking out $1 billion loans and they were managing DeFi treasuries, and how in a sense they like really took advantage of everyone's trust. And like, you know what they say, like you like take $1 million loan, you can't pay it back, it's your problem. You take $1 billion loan, it's the bank's problem. And they took out so many $1 billion loans from different lenders and stuff. And you know, um, everything just centralized crypto crashed, but like DeFi
Yeah,
stood strong.
I feel like the space needs to stop evangelizing like figures. Like even myself, like I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I'm just like trying my best, you know. I'm just like, all right,
Yeah,
do all the work. And like there's
I
like this morning I saw this tweet
I
from
th-
like this one of the major VCs in the space, and this guy was like, oh yeah, like I invest in DeFi, but I don't use DeFi. Like, and everyone's like, bro, like the hell are you talking about, man? Like, how can you invest in DeFi if you don't use it? So
yeah, dude. Kind of like my rule of thumb is like but if the person like shows their face, it's okay if they're doxxed. Actually, no, never mind. I take that back. I'm because I was about to like prove myself wrong. I'm never mind.
yeah,
Sammy, yeah, never mind.
Man, I normally at the end of the podcast, I like to ask a couple round of like lightning questions for you, Taiki. So the first question is, when did
okay.
you first touch the chain? What was your Virgin crypto experience?
I first touched the chain. Um, when did I touch the chain? I touched the chain like in January. I think I bought Badger for the first time. I don't know why.
What did you
I was
use?
like,
Because you're a Bitcoin maxi back then.
yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Bitcoin yields on chain. That makes sense. Oh, like, you know, Bitcoin yields juicy. I'm gonna buy some Badger. Gonna buy some Dig. Gonna farm. And then, you know, this is like this is before I knew how token value accrual worked and how governance tokens worked. I still made money for some reason. I think if you check the Badger chart, it's just like it went to like $3, like $60, and like I don't even know what it's at now, but like, you know, down only. Even though the Badger team is still shipping,
Down
and
only.
I do like Mr. Stataboom, but yeah, like I just like FOMO'd Badger, staked it, spent a shit ton in gas fees, sold them, and like that's when I kind of knew that like ETH L1 can't scale, so I need to ape into like Alto ones.
Mhm.
And then this was like early 2021, so I think this was like January, whenever the Badger pump was, the initial pump. That's like when I first used the chain, and I got wrecked emotionally because that's when it hit me that I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow. Okay. I think you answered my second question. I was going to be like, what was your most
So-
regrettable moment in crypto? But I think you just answered that.
Oh, that's not the.
Oh,
No, my most regrettable, definitely not Badger. What is it? Might be like Tomb Finance. I got like
oh, these names.
Oh,
Oh, these names.
Tomb season. They thought Ohm season was crazy. They should have seen like all the Tomb stables on Banner.
I guess there's two answers to this. One regret where I lost was like Tomb, right? Because I mean, I had a decent on Tomb, and like it like played out before like Andre rugged. I mean, he didn't rug, but no, he left. But I put my Tomb LP into this auto compounder, and that auto compounder got exploited. So like that. So like
Oh,
that's when I told myself like I'm not going to take on any additional smart contract risk when I don't need to. I put it on the auto compounder because I think it was like November or something. So like if you compound things yourself, from a tax perspective, it counts as income, right? So I'd rather I wanted to put it into an auto compounder, so whatever profits I make, I get taxed in the new year. Like, you know, I was like hoping to write it till January or something. So I took unnecessary smart contract risk. So 99% of the time, I'm not going to use auto compounders. That's one. And then that's when I lost money. I took like a 7% hit or something on my portfolio. And then the other regret is, I guess, is like Trader Joe. I was like so early on Avalanche. I was like so early, but I bought like AVAX and Penguin instead of the Joe token, and Joe 100x. And I was like, so I didn't even know what I was thinking. Like I still made money on Avalanche and Penguin, but
Joe had the
missing
meme
on
power.
100x. Yeah, I totally faded it. I don't know why. Yeah, like that was pretty tough. That was pretty tough. It's
What
like
was your
having.
biggest W? Like,
I
let's
think what
let's
hurts
not like.
generally is like you.
Uh,
Sorry.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think
You're
what
about to
hurts the
finish something.
most.
I wanted to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what hurts the most is like when you have a thesis or when you have an idea that's correct, but you bet on the wrong horse. Because you spend so much time, or I spent so much time like having ideas, and then I buy something and it plays out, but I bought the wrong thing. I feel like that's kind of infuriating, and I'm sure it's relatable to like
Yeah.
a lot of people. It's
Mm,
like
it's happened to us all. Um, I feel I feel bad. I want to like turn this positive. So like,
I
what's
mean,
your
don't
biggest
feel bad.
W? Is there a time like your thesis did prove out? Or, is there a time your thesis did like play out like right? And you're just like, yes, like let me get this win.
Oh, when my thesis played out,
Yeah, like what's like a W you had?
I think I'm most proud of. Um, let's see. I think I'm most proud of like identifying the Alt L1 rotation narrative. I don't know who like memed it into existence, but I think I was like a big part of it because I started with Polygon.
So Luna AVAX.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
like
or Polygon, yeah.
Hisaka came up with that in like September maybe, but I was like rotating L1s in like April, and then like I found the Avalanche and that played out. So like that's one of the things where like I had a thesis about L1s just being undervalued in general, and seeing it play out like was a big boost to like my confidence, and also like my channel too.
Mhm.
And then DeFi Kingdoms was good too,
Hell yeah.
even though it's down only.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk soup down bad, not just down down bad.
Yeah.
And so outside of DeFi and life on chain, what do you like to do off chain? What do you like to do when you're not doing crypto things?
Uh,
What do you enjoy?
I enjoy spending time with my pug. I love my pug.
Show us.
I used to not be a
Aw.
dog person, but
Is he around? Can you say hi?
He's just waiting this whole time.
He's
He's like,
just in the corner.
I'm gonna make a starring picture.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Sam, this could
Yeah,
make a good
exactly.
clip.
That's why I
The
wanted to
dog.
bring the dogs
People
in.
love dogs.
Dogs and babies are like always gonna have clicks.
Yeah. Yeah, dog. Oh my god, imagine if one of us had a baby. Wait, Steph, you have a baby. And the
Oh,
next
look at that
thing. Oh, look who we
What's his
have
name?
here.
What's her
Look,
name?
oh, what's
look at that yawn. His name is Tage.
Taiki and Tage.
It stands for like lots of hair in Japanese. Yeah.
what does it stand for?
It stands for lots of hair in Japanese. It's an inside joke.
So Tajay and Taiki, T squared.
Yeah. So he's looking like
how old is he?
my arm.
He's like, he's like, yeah.
He's almost 3. I love pugs.
He was like, I've been waiting for you. You've been doing a podcast. Oh. Did you grow
Yeah.
up with pugs?
No.
Oh, nice.
My girlfriend is like a huge pug person, and she converted me into a pug lover.
a pug maximalist, one would
Yeah.
say.
I can't imagine owning any other dog, but who knows?
Nice. Taiki loves the peg on chain
knows?
and the
Yeah.
pug
Well,
off chain.
If there's off chain,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and with that, that's a wrap. That's a show. Everyone, thanks for coming to Flywheel. Taiki, thank you for coming on, sharing us your strategy, your alpha, really being honest with us about like how you evaluate projects, how you view the market. Very insightful, and I think a lot of our viewers can take a lot from it and can learn a lot from it.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Cool, buddy. Thanks, man. Appreciate your jumping on.
Thanks. Well, that was this week's Flywheel. It was really nice. It was really nice to talk to a fellow DGen, a fellow DeFi evangelist, someone that you can tell that he cares about the future of DeFi and the ecosystem, that he's in it for the right reasons. He really cares about his viewers and like wants to do good by them and wants to make sure he's delivering the highest quality possible. So I encourage all our viewers to go subscribe to Talking Media. What about you? What do you think of this week, Kit?
I think we had an extremely honest conversation. He was definitely a good
Yeah.
dude. He was, the same as in this video, like a very genuine guy. And a quick shout out again to his YouTube channel is Taiki Maeda. We'll also leave a link in the description for you.
Yeah. And also don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. I think we have over 430 followers.
Yeah,
subscribers.
strong.
We have almost 3 months in, and like we have over 400 subscribers. Like, keep it up, guys. Thank you for the support. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at FlywheelPod, Telegram at FlywheelPod. Don't forget to follow me at DeFiDave22.
And you can follow me at 0x_K. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
Thanks, guys.